going on, guys? It is your boy Cash, and I'm here with the dev notes. These are from yesterday, so you can see I'm early, right? Oh man, so someone had told me that the dev notes actually dropped, but I wasn't actually home. Well, I think I was home, but I couldn't actually do a video on it because I had work. I have to go to sleep for work. As a security guard, you cannot fall asleep at work. So yeah, gotta be careful with that. So I'm a little bit late, but I did read them at work, so I'm just gonna review some things that I saw in it, and I definitely want to bring up some issues that I have. Of course, this is gonna be part of the Nice Chronicle content creator program, and this is gonna be specifically smart for it because one thing that I asked them when I first signed up for the program is whether or not I can be honest. And there are some things in here that honestly scare the crap out of me. And so let's just get into it, right? All right, so here we have it that they're talking about. They're going to be doing 3 reworks specifically on Damien, Ashley, and of course Murdoch. Now, a lot of people are a little bit scared about this because of rework. Now, they reworked Nemesis. They reworked Nemesis and they reworked how her kit worked and everything like that. But people are of course afraid of how the costumes are technically reworks. Nobody wants a rework and that, like the way that is. No one really wants a rework that way. They would prefer, and I think I would personally prefer, if they make it like an epic quest. If they want to go do costumes going forward, and even if they want to rehash and do the other epic quest for the old special costumes, then that's fine. And then give people like a compensation for having spent $20 on the older ones. I think that would be a way smarter thing to do. Give them compensation. Even the deluxe packs that are in the game currently, the $16, you can even bump those up to $20. I know some people might hate me for saying this, but then just give it an epic quest. Give the Morgan skin an epic quest, the Nick skin an epic quest, and you don't even necessarily have to bring a story around them. You could try. I mean, what the hell are you gonna do for Nix's? But Nix's is like, oh, you know, she went to space, but you know, I think that would be a great way, because everyone has always wanted, they've always wanted a way to get these costumes, these reworks, but they didn't always necessarily want to spend money. And if you wanted to spend money, you got it early. And I'm telling you guys right now, I'm still doing the Lydia epic quest. It takes at least 3 weeks or so, based on like each little stoppage thing that happens in there and your ability to only farm the dungeon. It takes like about 2 to 3 weeks, if not a month, to actually get it, if you're like, depending on how active you are in it. So yeah, I think that's fair. You know, or you can pay $60 and boom, you're done. As soon as you finish that one little arc, that one little side of it, you're done. You can't even use dungeon tickets on those on the dungeons that they have. So I think that would be a welcome change. I think that, you know, most people would not mind that, in my opinion. I wouldn't mind it. I would love to get Morgan's thing by doing a secret agent epic quest or something like that. Who wouldn't? You get the Morgan skin, you have stuff to spend your stamina on, there's more stuff to do because you add more content into the game. I think that's great. So I know a lot of people are concerned about Damien, Ashley, and Murdoch. Are they getting full reworks to where the character in general is completely different? Or are they gonna get a skin that is a rework? So that's just, we'll see how that works. But like I said, we plan on more balancing and adjustment for other heroes in the future, so make sure they're on the lookout. So we have to see how they're gonna go about that. But I think that most people would agree that they don't want it to be a costume style rework, where you have to pretty much get the costume of Damien, you know, super mega Damien, or Ashley, the enlightened one, and Murdoch, before he was, you know, before he became a white knight, so he's like this real rugged guy. And then all of a sudden it's a skin, it's $20, and nobody's gonna want to do that. It's gonna ruin and do way worse for the game, because it's gonna be like, dang, you know, we waited, you guys wanted us to do this, but when you guys did it, you put a price tag behind it, and no one's gonna want to go for that. Next up is a new epic quest, and it's gonna be Vladi, V-Lady. So he's gonna be getting an epic quest, which is, I guess, cool. He is an R unit. I think, is this the first R unit, right? I think that is the first one, yeah, because everyone else has been an SR so far. So he's going to be the first R unit, so yes, he's very obtainable. It's going to be a lot easier to get skill ups for this character. So an R unit that's going to be able to become an SSR, if, you know, I'm assuming that's what every Epic Quest is, the big SSR. I don't know if it's going to be a R unit turned to SR, but I feel like the Epic Quest means that they're going to be an SSR unit. So that's going to be crazy. You know, you can get an R unit, and you know, depending on how many of them they do say they're going to do 3 main characters of the story, and a lot of the main characters are Rs and SR units. The SSRs, like Cynthia and some of these other ones, they're just kind of there. You know, they have some slight like little iterances in the story, like, you know, but a lot of them are, you know, they just like they're kind of added in. But the original story, were just a lot of them are the SR and the R units that are currently in the base of the game, because a lot of the SSR units were added in later. So it kind of makes sense that, you know, a lot of the newer characters are not really they're like kind of in the story but not fleshed out, that because they don't have Epic Quest, they don't have other things for you to really see, you know, how they are. So it's nice that they're gonna get it. And then, like I said, gonna be meeting Terran. So Terran and the lady have a story, whatever, because Terran is like about taking pictures. I'm pretty sure that's the character, the picture chick. Paparazzi. So it's like Paparazzi beats the vampire. All right, Buffy the vampire. You know, maybe I don't know what's going on. I'm interested to see what skill ups he does, because the Lydia is actually like the best one. She's actually like almost mandatorily you need to make it. Not that you need to, but it actually blocks the debuffs that are naturally unblockable in the game. She's the only character that does it. If you want to block like Nikita's defense crush and stuff like that, she's the only character that could do it. So her value is incredible, way better than Leona's or Theo's in my opinion. And I don't know what Vladdy's gonna do, but if he's not blocking those debuffs, I mean, it's only one turn, so it's not like she's the best in the world, but it's something that the game needs. There needs to be either less debuff types or more characters that have full debuff immunity, not just damage over time immunity or everything. They need a full debuff immunity. Ladies and gentlemen, this is when I've been scared. These 2 sections here, number 3 and number 4, scare me a little bit. And so much I will read it, just in case I don't have time to zoom it up and stuff like that. I'm going to read it. Advent Dungeon difficulty adjustments. We are sure that many of our knights felt the giant hurdle when facing their first Hell Advent dungeon. These are the 3-star Advents, right? Hell Advent is a 3-star Advent. The difficulty of the Advent dungeons was created to have a marginal impact on the difficulty of the game. In order for further enhance your heroes, you must strengthen them enough to clear the Advent dungeons. We are sure you've experienced frustrating moments in the Advent dungeons. After checking the data, we noticed a high failure rate in the Advent dungeons, starting in Hell difficulty, which is why we have decided to adjust the difficulty of the Advent dungeons to prevent newer users from giving up. Now, the Hell difficulty, if I'm not mistaken, like I said, is a 3-star Advent. I'm actually gonna cut away real quick and make sure that that's what it is, because I'm pretty sure that is a 3-star Advent. Alright, here we go. I'm on my Nox currently, and yes, 3-star Advents are 3-star difficulty, I should say, sorry. 3-star difficulty Advents are Hell. Meanwhile, these are Annihilation. Now, the 3-star Advents are really not crazy. Like they do have like a lot of like intricacies to them. Like Renta is a pretty difficult one. Same thing with Sharon. These 2 are actually probably amongst some of the harder ones that you have to do, and without really having a built-up team, as they're saying, like, oh, you might have a lot of failures, and there might, I don't know, they're saying Hell difficulty, and I know people fail Annihilation difficulty, which is a 4-star Advent. Now, they are difficult, but eventually Renta, you can just bring in a bunch of fire and you'll do fine. You can bring in a bunch of wind to Sharon, you'll do fine. Same thing with Xenon. You just kind of bring the opposite element and you pretty much do fine. It just kind of takes a while. Like, the far as that they need to make it easier is a little bit scary, because then it's gonna be, if they're gonna change this, then they're gonna eventually probably try to change these and make them a little bit easier. Now, I have an issue with these, but I'll get to that in a second. The hard and hell difficulty advent dungeons were no sweat for most active users, while the annihilation difficulty required more thought out team compositions. There were a few cases where knights would go out to online forums and guides to ask for help on how to clear certain stages. Additionally, a lot of users were experiencing repeated failures because of lack of assistance from other communities. In the next update, you will be able to check out the most used heroes in a specific Advent dungeon to help guide users to be successful in completing each Advent dungeon and boss battle. Whether or not you defeat the boss or not, we hope this information will help you succeed in the future. So, like they said, the hard and hell difficulties and then the annihilation. So that makes me have to bring up why people fail an annihilation. And we're gonna start right here. Nikita, this is a really good comparison. Nikita and Britain. Britain is very easy. Nikita is very RNG. You can go into Britain with a full fire team, the same fire team you can probably beat with Renta, and beat Britain. Not even lying. The same, not the same win team that you beat his, not really, not really, I'm not gonna go that far, but a similar team that you will use here will probably be able to beat Tayo, another 4-star Advent, you know? Now, Britain has a very intricate kind of way of like the third stage, you know, depending on how many pirates there are. If there are too many up, then he's gonna do this, and when there's 0 pirates, just himself he gets buffs, you know, depending on the situation. Nikita, on the other hand, she has a mechanic in her dungeon that is the defense crush mechanic. Now the defense crush mechanic, they only apply it on certain skills, but it's kind of random in whether or not it's actually gonna land on you. Now, until Lydia entered the game, there actually was no way to block defense crush from coming onto you. You just had to deal with it. You just had to be like, well, I got defense crushed. I have to defend. But the thing is that each boss in that, no, not the first bosses, not the first stage, but the stage 2 and the stage 3 have a rage mechanic. So if you get defense crushed too often, you waste time defending, and then the bosses and the things that you're fighting just get stronger. Meanwhile, you had 0 way of actually preventing that preemptively. So there's no counterplay. There's like not much interaction that you have. Now you can try to get out of it by, there was no way. Now, same thing in Lily's dungeon. Lily's dungeon had the charm. The only way you can get her off the charm is if you get full health, which means either another hero has to heal you, or or you had a character like Ruby who kind of gets healed when she gets hit or something of that nature. So there wasn't really much to it. So when I see that, they're saying like, oh, well, we're seeing that there's failures and we're going to show you guys the most used heroes. Now, the most used heroes are right here. People are going to use these heroes. They're going to use the heroes that give them bonuses. Esna, Karen, Verdandi is going to be the most heroes that you're going to see. You're not going to see Tayo or Carolina or anything like that. And same thing with this. I mean, this one is, you don't need to, like I just said, you can run a full fire team. And I say a full fire team because there's a character in Britain's dungeon that is a win target, and he's the most annoying. And yeah, even the stage 2 is a water. It doesn't matter. Just bring all fire. Just bring all fire. It doesn't really matter. It's not even that hard. They just kind of added stuff in here, because I think that was when Nyx got her costume. So, oh no, I think Leafa got her costume. One of them got a costume. I think it was Leafa got a costume, and since all of them kind of got costume, it was just kind of like a way to, promote those, who actually invested into the game and give them something nice to do. But you don't even need any of it. I go in there full fire team. I think Leafa's in the squad because she's just a fire unit. Doesn't matter at all. So my suggestion to them is not necessarily to tell people what units to use, is to tell people how the dungeon works a little bit better. Put in better mechanics as far as how stuff goes, and give things counters. Defense crush should only affect characters. I'm using Nikita's dungeon for example. Should only affect characters when they're at a certain health percentage. I don't care if it's full health. It could be like if you're full health, or above 50% you get defense crushed, or below 50%, which would be better because it will then make it better for you that if you keep yourself healthy, you know, boom, you get defense crushed. If you're not, then it causes the player to have countermeasures to that, like bringing in shields, bringing in healers, stuff like that. But currently there's no way to get around it. Same thing with the charms. You can, you know, you can bring abnormal status to block the charms, but with I can't bring up Lily's thing right now, but there's not that many characters that at the moment could go into the Lily's dungeon, Abel being the only full AoE abnormal status, but he's a guy, and guys don't do well in Lily's dungeon. They just get obliterated because that's how the dungeon is. And then you try to reformat your team and you end up losing. And then, as you guys know, these dungeons cost 72 stamina. Other games, if you fail a dungeon or any part, you don't lose the resource. In this game, you do. So if I go to Nikita's dungeon, which happened to me today, I did Nikita's dungeon, I lost, not because my units weren't apart, just because I kept getting defense crushed, and then based on the speed of the dungeon, a unit got defense crushed and did not get another turn to defend, so that unit died. That's just what happens. And then you lose a unit, and then in this dungeon there's an like they have stuff to prevent you really from reviving, which I'm fine with that. I don't mind that, you know, they don't want you to revive. That means you should be you should be having the player play towards keeping their units alive. But there's nothing that really helps you with that when you just get defense crush, and there was no real way to prevent that from happening. So I think they have to take the RNG element, and there's other dungeons as well. You know, Kali's dungeon has the shadow mechanic on the clones, and then it's kind of hard. Like if you have to bring in like almost a full team with clone attacks. I think at least 3 actually is the best way to do it. 3 characters that have clone attacks to take them out. But there are times where, you know, a clone can be off to the side by itself, stealth, and then all of a sudden your whole run is different now, unless you have high DPS. So, and especially because what they're trying to do here, let me go back down. Nox does that all the time. They're trying to pretty much have the people that are returning back to the game feel a little bit better and be able to farm things even though they haven't been super active. Like if you've been active from the game's launch, a lot of this stuff is not really going to affect you because you've been active throughout. You probably can take any dungeon that you wanted from, you know, the beginning of this month and build a team within like 2 weeks or something like that completely crushes that dungeon, and it like to the point where it's like autoable. Doesn't matter, you can auto like a lot of dungeons if you want to focus purely on that dungeon to have like a team that crushes it completely and utterly. But when you come back to this game and you're just kind of like, oh hey, you're gonna get destroyed. Same thing like me, like I'm not playing like super actively, so when I come back and I'm like, oh well, I'm still using my old units, my old, you know, runes, you know, I haven't been farming runes, I'm gonna come back and these dungeons are gonna seem like just as hard as they always were. So yeah, you could bring the thing down, but then you know, then where's the fun? The whole fun, like I remember when we first started playing this game, is that a admin dungeon would come out, and they did say up here they're gonna add another admin hero, right? Another admin dungeon. It would come out and you would spend time trying to find out how to beat it. But when some of the other newer ones came out after they got too many complaints about the dungeons being too easy, they added in like a relief. The dungeon, not even just being easy, sorry, that's wrong. They were told that the dungeons were too long, and it's mostly because of Tayo. And since they were trying to shorten them, they were trying to make them these DPS races. But they couldn't let you just DPS race it because you had strong units. There had to be some type of mechanic. And you had to pretty much sculpt the perfect team with the banner units and the party, like the bonus units, in order to really beat it in a significant time. Like it would just be really, really difficult in order to not use the units that they said. And the only time that you get the units is when you get the new banner hero, which forces you to save crystals, yada yada yada. So I think that they need to make it that you have more flexibility in your team comp. I don't like the bonus units at all. I don't like that mechanic at all. I think that the dungeon should be free to use whatever unit that benefits it. Like you could make a lot of crazy things that, you know, we play other games and they have crazy mechanics and they leave the boss as is. That's the boss mechanic. But you don't say the player like you have to use this. No, they'll figure out what to use, but don't say they can't use this character, or like bring in certain things on the boss that specifically will make it too bad to use another character. Like if you don't want to like the player to debuff your boss, just make it that, oh, if they debuff the boss will get some type of buff, or they'll spawn a new enemy or something like that, and then the player will be like, well, okay, I can't use debuffs. But if you like then they can't use certain characters, and it will kind of like, it will flesh it out a little bit, you know. But if you say like they can't use this character and that character specifically, it's like, okay, well, now I have to use that character. I can't even, you know, it doesn't look too good, and it makes it seem as though like you're punishing people. That's what a lot of people felt like when Tayo was like banned in like 3 dungeons. Like when you pretty much either target them out specifically, or then like in Lily's dungeon you target out males, which is like a lot of the cast like whoosh, just gone. Like you can't use them, or they're just gonna die really quickly. I mean, you could use them, but you know, there's this other, I think, in my opinion, better mechanics that you could bring into the dungeon that allows people to freely use who they kind of want to, and you can bring in mechanics that will make the player figure out themselves that they can't use that unit. Instead of banning Tayo, you just make it like pretty much like you just make it, oh, males can't be in this dungeon. You know, that's not that bad. Not that bad. Like that's why people can still bring a male into Lily's dungeon, because they know, oh, it's not that bad. Okay, we can do this, or I can protect the male if I want to, if it's worth it. You know, it's kind of hard because you don't want to make it too easy, but I feel like you can lead the player to use certain characters and not by adjusting the mechanics, but just don't make it RNG. Being charmed multiple times in Lily's dungeon, defense broken, defense crushed randomly, I know it's not too random because it's a certain attack that does it. But it's just, oh, you gotta defend. Oh, well, there you go. 3 people gotta defend. That's 3 turns lost in a DPS race. Like what? No, nobody wants to do that. All right, let me see what else we got here. And here we go. They said that we are preparing an event to stimulate the knights desiring for a challenge. They're going to be adding all the advent bosses into one fight. Well, I don't know if it's one fight, to be fair. We don't know exactly how this is going to work, but you're going to get rewards if you can clear it. This is cool. I hope that they make it so it might be one of those things where, you know, let's say they put all the water advents in one little section, so you got to beat them all at once, you know. But you know, like maybe you don't want to use Ruby because Ruby's only good for one part. She maybe not be good for the other part, so you might not want to actually use her for the entire thing because you have to beat it all in one go. This is interesting. Has the least like information about it, but it's interesting, and I'm looking forward to that specifically. That would be great content to make. It'd be great for the older players too, because you know it's something that includes all the advents. You might have to fight them all at once, which I don't think that they'll be able to do because you'll just be screwed. Like I say, you can't go from one dungeon into like Lily's dungeon with all the men, and it's like you're gonna be screwed. Now they do say this, however, be warned, you will need to strengthen your heroes to near perfection to even consider clearing this dungeon. It says dungeon here, so I guess it is one dungeon. This event will be available after the version 1.7 update. Now again, I'm just afraid that it might be too RNG, and it's one dungeon. It says all Advent dungeon bosses in one dungeon. So like I said, it's gonna I don't know how you can clear like how would you go from, you know, one dungeon into Lily, or one dungeon into Nikita, or you know, something like one certain dungeon into like Sid. You might get royally screwed. Like you'd have to have like the 5 perfect synergistic units that work in all scenarios, and that would kind of be hard. And one, like you might have a round where only, you know, certain characters must defend. Like let's say, you know, you bring in, you know, Christian's one thing, and then you go into Christian's one thing, and then you go into Callie's stage 2, you know, and then all of a sudden you got all these light and dark units like Christian that you brought in because Christian's good in Christian's dungeon, and it's like, well, now you can't hit one of the ghosts because Christian can only hit one of the ghosts, and then he'll heal the other one, you know, even he might counterattack or something. So it's like, you know, they have to be careful with that, but I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are too. That sounds pretty cool. This is just improvement in the tutorial. Again, they're just focusing on making sure that their game is good for the returning players. I do think that you do have to be careful because you also want to cater to the people that have stayed. You don't want to just pamper the returning people so much, because the returning people will leave again. They've done it already. They're perfectly fine leaving. They left the game and they're like, oh well, I can do it again. The people that are staying, you definitely want to cater to them a little bit too, because they want to be rewarded for staying. Even if you gave them like a oh, you've been with the game for 5 months, you get this. So there's like certain month rewards, kind of like when you're sub on Twitch, like you get a different icon, or maybe you get certain different things based on how long you've been. That would be nice for the active players that have been active for a long time. Like imagine, I keep playing this game for a year, I get a big thing on the year thing comparison to the guy that just started playing when the game hits a year. Like that would be awesome. It would be like, wow, I feel highly rewarded for my efforts in staying into the game, regardless of what happened with it or what's going on with it. I still played it, so I think that would be good. Now, and they also this is like a weird thing here, like if more new and returning players can be retained, improvements to guild and multiplayer special dungeons can be focused on next. So this is pretty much saying that they can't, which is kind of true. You can't really focus on multiplayer dungeons if there's not enough player base. It's just a waste of time. Same thing with the guild dungeons. No purpose of doing a bunch of improvements on guild if there's not enough people that will actually be able to take advantage of it. Makes sense. They have to think logically and financially about how they move. They can bring in a lot of solo content because, people will just play it. But if you bring in a multiplayer event and it's dry and the queue times are long, people will just complain. And this is what I've been saying about multiplayer. A lot of people want multiplayer to come back. They want them to really revamp it, but they have to think logically about that. They can't just do it and then hope that people go into it. They have to make sure that they have a decent amount of people that are interested in it. Maybe write them letters or write them feedback like, hey, I really want multiplayer to be in this game. Like, I want it a little bit, but the rewards have to be completely retouched and stuff like that. So now this is cool. Level 3 has been added to the God's Vault to get 6-star heroes randomly. Now, as long as the price of it doesn't change, like it's 300k, that's great. You can get a free 6-star unit. Getting a free 5-star unit from it is also really good. Getting a 6-star unit will be great. We also have improved the way guild dungeons can be auto-played, because right now you can only do like one, then go back and do one. They didn't really need to do that, but it's, they want their game to be flexible. After playing some other games, it's nice to have an auto feature, and then knowing that that's one of their best features, and for them to keep working on it. There's a better word for it, but they're keeping working on it. They're making sure that their best features are highlighted and still going. Smart. And that's blah, blah, blah. The update is scheduled sometime in mid-January. Nice. Excluding from the things I mentioned above, we have made multiple adjustments to further improve the convenience of playing. Yeah, the convenience. That's a great word. Of playing Knights Chronicles. And they flash off High Plains Huntress Momo. Yeah, it's like a little, like, chick riding a wolf. I wonder if the dog has a name too. That'd be nice. But that's about it. Let me know what you guys think about it. I try to be as honest as possible. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. That's not what I ever do. So I think that they're bringing in a lot of stuff, but of course it's going to come down to execution, as it does with everything. And they always, in my opinion, and the reason why I joined the Knights Chronicle, I didn't join the Knights Chronicle program for the 500 crystals or whatever a month, or the, they might put my video somewhere. It's because I have faith in the actual thing. Yeah, they added the costumes, and I know it pissed some people off, but like I said, the thing that they need to work on is content. They can, I still think that they can epic quest the costumes, and that's not even my idea. That was actually an idea from Science Storm. He had mentioned that, I think, in one of his videos, and I thought that was a really good idea. That's the first time I've ever heard of it. Have all the costumes epic quests. Then you have what everyone has always wanted, which is a way to pay for it immediately, have it and be done with it, and then a way to just grind for it. And actually the epic quest, you still have to play through it before. Even if you pay the money, you still have to actually, you still have a process to go through. But you can even make it that the $20 just gives it to you. You don't have to go through half of the other stuff. I think that's perfectly fine. Give people the option. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And if you're on the Reddit, I will be there too. I'm always in there. I'm always in both. You know, let me know what you guys think. If this can get to them, or if they watch this video, you never know, man. This company does listen. They might not take the feedback in the way that I specifically would like them to take it, but you know, I do that they listen and they work slowly but surely. You know, and that's smart. Don't overwork yourself. Don't do too much. You might end up doing worse than better, you know. And also, as I always got to do, shout outs to my patrons, Tachi and Isaac. Thank you guys so much for supporting the loveliness that we do here. And as you guys know, I am down to one job, so there will be more videos in the future, more frequent videos, not just like one off here and then a day or two or whatever. It's going to be more videos. So I hope you guys look forward to that. Nice Chronicles, Epic 7, Shadowverse, who knows? Who knows? Like I said, I'll probably do some Dark Souls. I've been thinking about doing Dark Souls or something like that for fun. But I will see you guys in the next video.